I just read another report. It seems that a 60-year-old nurse by the name of David Buchanan out of Detroit was arrested for breaking the bones of 66 African American newborns in the IC unit. Yeah, another one. What did I say? A part of their what? A part of their what? Yeah, part of their DNA. This nurse, male nurse, 60 years old. Can you imagine how much damage he has done that he was never caught for? They just now finding out about the 66 babies. 66 newborn babies in the ICU. He broke their bones. When I tell you it's part of their DNA, I'm not lying. Yeah, this is what they do. This is a type of demonic, evil, treacherous crap that's a part of their DNA. How could you? How could you? To a newborn baby. But then again, I always told you that they were groomed to be able to disconnect from the human race of anyone that did not look like them. So it's easy for them to look at an African American baby and don't see a human being. They don't even see a baby. Let's not forget, this is the same race of people that use black babies, the slave uh, babies back in the day. They used them as gator bait. Yeah, they would put the babies out there to coax the gators up on the land. Same people. This is why our history does not want to be taught, because it shows you the true face of the white race. It shows you their evilness. It shows you their ability to torture innocent human beings. It shows you the fetish they have for violence, for watching the flesh be ripped off someone's bones. They have a fetish for that. That's why it has lasted hundreds and hundreds of years. This is what they crave. And the truth be told, what's going on today, what we're witnessing today with white people, is the fact that they haven't been able to raid a town or a small city in years. They haven't been able to go on their killing sprees. You know, like Black Wall Street, Rosewood, you know, other unfortunate cities and towns that someone said a black person did something, and it was just an excuse the white people needed to go over there and do the pillaging, to do the raping, the killing, the torturing. Think about it. When's the last time they've been able to do that? Can someone tell me the last city that was burned down, attacked, and people were killed, and they were maimed and tortured, raped? When was the last time that was recorded? Because that's the last time they've been able to get that out of them. And all this civil war that they're running for, they are biting at the bits to be able to go back to what they do, which is kill, murder, rape, pillage, torture. They haven't been able to do that in a while, and it's driving them insane. That's why they're running around here, this Trump country. Oh yeah, make America white again. What came with white America was black people's torture, death, rapes, destruction. And they were allowed to do that freely with no repercussions, no consequence, no punishment. You know how you get used to doing that when you've been able to run buck wild? It's like having a spoiled child you never told no. And the first time you tell them no, they lose it. It's the same thing with white people. They were never told you cannot do that. You shouldn't be doing that. At least not in a way that it mattered to them.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, Africans. I hope you're faring well where you are, but if you're not faring well, please fare well where you are. Now, I want to talk about something that I believe many of you are going to relate to. You see, in this channel, I basically talk about matters affecting black people. It's just a black history channel, black story channel, right? And so we have two major things that have really affected black people all over the world, be it Africa, be it the US, be it Southern America, name it all. We have two things that have greatly affected us as black people. First of all, it is slavery. Second of all, it is colonialism. All these involved oppression, right? It involved oppression. And if you look at the motherland, the mainland for the black people, Africa, we faced colonialism and a little bit of slavery. But the major kind of slavery was faced by the Africans outside Africa by then. And this major catastrophe is what we now know as transatlantic slave trade, right? Now, we went ahead, we suffered in the USA, we plowed their farms, sorry about the rooster. We plowed the farms, we picked the cotton, we washed their wastes, we did all that. 400 years later, we were freed, right? But there's still some people who kept it into their mind that black people are still slaves. They kept it in their mind that we can never ever leave the position of being called slaves. And this is where I have the problem. This is where we have a huge problem, because in that instance, we had these slave masters and slaves. These slave masters left their descendants. Their descendants are still walking this face of the earth. And still, the descendants of the slaves, of the servants, slaves is the right word here, are still walking on the face of this earth. And the descendants of the slave master are still trying to oppress black people and trying to minimize their survival and existence on earth. Yes, there's a very troubling story that was made up by a woman on TikTok. I want us to listen to this story. She narrates how black babies are being terminated because this nurse, who is white, believes that her life is more important than the life of black people. Let's listen to her. I shall get back by the end of the video, where we shall also have a deep critical analysis. Let's dive in.
So they continue this all through Jim Crow, all through slavery, all through whatever. They've been able to do this, and they have been able to do it scot-free without 1 ounce of justice or backlash or repercussions. How many people do you think are in this world that are doing the same thing David Buchanan did and the other white nurse that I talked about yesterday? How many people do you think are out here in these positions that have access to these vulnerable people that have been doing it and have never been caught? Now, the young lady I talked about yesterday and David Buchanan, they both should be charged with hate crimes because they only targeted black babies. That's a hate crime. Yeah. So, when I say it's who they are, it's a part of their makeup, they prove me right with stories like this coming to surface. And with the hundreds and thousands and probably millions that would never see the light of day, it backs up every statement I've said, tracing back their history all the way back to slavery. They have a taste for blood that cannot be quenched. They have a desire to see people tortured and maimed, and to see them just terrorized. They have a taste for it in their mouths. And they have to have it like an addict has to have his drugs. So, in the age of reveal, know who your enemy truly is. And know the history of your people and the history of your enemy. Knowledge is power. Learn all you can so you know how to deal with your enemy. And the people that are running around here breaking babies' bones, newborn babies in ICU, black babies in ICU, they are our enemies. Know those people. Study them. So you know never to trust yours around them ever. And I know it sounds bad because you're saying to all white people, I'm sorry. It's just the way you guys say all black people. But we have never been as dangerous to you as you have been to us. We have never attacked you on the level like you have attacked us. And we have never done anything to you to warrant the attacks. But you sure as hell have warranted some attacks from us. And it's not even in us to rise up and come after you. But don't get it twisted. Even a dog gets sick of being kicked. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Hey guys, there's this story going around that I want to talk about, but I want to give a little history regarding this subject before I get into the story. As you all know, or may not know, I know some of you are a lot of history buffs out there. You know that there is hardcore evidence, fact-based statements that the white woman is responsible for a lot of deaths of black people. The white woman has probably about as many deaths under their belts as the Ku Klux Klan. Because we do know, history has proven that white women were extremely abusive to slaves, that they were often get so caught up beating their slaves that they would literally beat them to death. And children were also beaten to death by white women. It becomes so frequent that they came up with a law to protect the white woman for when her beatings went too far and it took a life. There's stories that we will never know are probably more horrific than anything we could ever consume in our lives. But the stories we do know of white women beating slave children to death, there is a pattern here. They would be so pissed off that they can't keep their husbands, that they couldn't keep their husbands off a slave row. They took it out on the innocent babies, as if they asked to be a product of that rape. Because that's what it was, rape. And the white woman would be so infuriated, and she couldn't take it out on the man who committed the crime. She took it out on the innocent child who couldn't defend themselves, and often beat those children to death. I'll never forget, I read this this story, this life story of a young slave girl. When the book started, when you start the chapter in the book started with her giving birth to her, I think it was 20th child. And she was a very young girl. And she died in that birth. The little girl that was born from that birth was the slave master's daughter. And of course the little girl came out looking just like him, lily white. And the daddy, the white guy that fathered the child, he made the child, his daughters by his wife, playmate, which they often did. They slept in the room with them. They slept on a little cot by their bed. They often let the children put their feet on their stomachs to keep their feet warm. Anyway, the little girl was born from that slave girl. She was, as I said in the story, she was the slave master's daughter, playmate. Well, whenever the slave master left to take care of business or whatever, the white woman would torture the baby. She would torture the little girl. In one scene they described, she had the little girl in a closet tied up by her thumbs, hanging by her thumbs, and left her in there for days. So, this is a true story, by the way. It was a true story. So we see there is a pattern of the viciousness of white women that they are capable of doing. There is a pattern of it. They won't like it when it's being discussed, but it really is part of their DNA. Which brings me to the story today of the nurse in the IC unit for children, for babies. Babies. The 26-year-old white nurse that was going around breaking the bones of black babies that was already in ICU. That's who they are. I know everybody's all, oh my God, oh shocked. I'm not shocked and I'm not in awe. I really am not. Because, sad to say, it's part of their DNA. They have been groomed for violence against the indefensible. Because in slave days, you couldn't strike a white woman back. So she got to get out all her frustration, all her anger on you. And sometimes you survived the attacks and sometimes you didn't. When we fast forward to today, that is still within them. This is, it's just still within them. For you to be able to go into an area where babies, newborn babies, who haven't even have the ability to speak, so you know they haven't done anything to anyone. For you to be able to go in there and attack those babies that are already dealing with serious life medical issues, that means you have no soul. You have no soul. You are giving in to your instinct, your basic instinct that was groomed and passed down to you through your ancestors. You have a history of violence toward black people. And the young nurse, 26 years old, who I'm sure did it more than what she got caught for, going around abusing, breaking the bones of newborn babies. You have to have a serious malfunction in your human makeup and being a human being. There's things that you are missing. You're like a serial killer who was born missing empathy and compassion. I want to say that a lot of y'all history groomed serial killers. A lot of y'all patterns of display and torture, of debuting beatings, of using incidents like lynching as a public form of entertainment, it scarred y'all. It desensitized y'all. Y'all y'all have no empathy for people in pain. You have no compassion for watching somebody be tortured because you were reared that way. Whenever a slave was beaten, he was beaten in front of people. There's this one movie, when it comes on, they're showing a clip where the slave owners, they had this huge event. A lot of rich white people were around. And they brought this slave in front of this group of people. And they actually beat and burned that slave to death in front of everybody. Just like it was as normal as watching a kickball game. It was just as normal. You have to understand, all those years that y'all bred that behavior, that y'all celebrated that behavior, that y'all uplifted that behavior, you created serial killers. You created people who could detach from another human being. You created a whole race of people who can look at people and not see them as a human being. So that way they can validate their violent attacks on them. And it's all the way up to 2025. And the example is the young lady, the nurse, the 26-year-old, I can't remember her name, Virginia or something. I don't want to say it because I'm not sure of it. But I'm sure everybody has heard about it by now. Well, she's a product of her ancestors. She's a product of how white people were raised, groomed, molded, created. Did y'all ever stop to think why the most violent of the violent people is majority white? And it's funny because you don't want to be connected to the violent and the horrific deeds of your race. But you have no problem taking an incident from one black person and making it the whole entire black race. All of this is going to come to a head. You will reap what you sow. What you have coming will come. Just be ready for it.
Now, guys, after carefully listening to this woman give her thoughts, share the truth for what it is, without fear, without respect of any man, right? Because sometimes people are afraid to speak because they have fear or they have respect for the authorities or for a certain group of people at the expense of humanity. This woman has spoken and she knows she's speaking against an organization. Probably the hospital with which these things are being done is owned by someone who might also be a descendant of the slave master. Because, you know, traditions and cultures are always passed through one generation to another, right? Tradition is passed. You are told you were born to be a master, and that group of people, those are your servants. That is how they get taught. You are taught this. You look at that person, don't see them as an equal. Don't lose your power trusting them. Don't lose your power doing something which is against our wishes and our grounds and our beliefs. If you go back and research on what is working against them, is being equal, right? They take equality as a way of weakness, according to them, right? So here's where I say all lives are equal, right? All lives are equal. But there's a huge but here, because some people believe that, yes, lives are equal. Lives are equal. They can even sing it on the streets. But some lives are more equal than others, right? Some lives are more equal. So leaves you thinking, what is the meaning of more equal? More equal has to have some different meaning. More equal has to have some specific metaphorical meaning to these individuals who term it more equal. But if I look at the religious scriptures with which we gather our moral values, it tells us that when God created the world, yes, when God created the world, he made us equal, right? He made us man and woman. He made man in his image and likeness. God did not create races. He made us and he created us in positions that we would adjust, that our skin would adapt to. For the black people in Africa, we receive a lot of sunshine. So having this black skin, this lovely black skin, is a way to protect ourselves, right? This coily dark hair, this coily hard hair, this hair helps us to dissipate heat because it's too hot in Africa, right? Over there, they had to adjust to that skin, right? So does not make, even scientifically, it is not right to be racist. It is illogical to be racist, right? Even science itself denies that. So whoever thinks that they are more equal than others to the extent that they decide their survival, that person is not thinking in their right state of mind. And their mind needs squashing. Yes. Shake, shake, shake and throw away. Yeah? Yeah. So guys, share your thoughts in the comment section. I'd really love to hear from you. What do you think of this disturbing news? What do you think of it? Share in the comment section. Let's continue the discussion further and further. Yeah. This is EFK Original Documentaries. Support me on Patreon. I'll surely appreciate. And see you in the next.